A manned space lunar probe successfully landed on the Moon. As of November 25, 2023, a total of 6 manned spacecraft have successfully landed on the Moon. Here are the details of the Apollo missions. Apollo 11. Launch date: July 16, 1969. Moon landing date: July 20, 1969. Astronauts: Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. Activities: Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin descended to the lunar surface, and Armstrong famously said, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." Apollo 12. Launch date: November 14, 1969. Moon landing date: November 20, 1969. Astronauts: Charles Conrad and Alan Bean. Activities: Charles Conrad and Alan Bean explored the lunar surface. Apollo 14. Launch date: January 31, 1971. Moon landing date: February 5, 1971. Astronauts: Alan Shepard and Edgar Mitchell. Activities: Alan Shepard and Edgar Mitchell conducted experiments and explored the Moon's surface. Apollo 15. Launch date: July 26, 1971. Moon landing date: August 3, 1971. Astronauts: David Scott and James Irwin. Activities: David Scott and James Irwin conducted scientific experiments and drove the lunar roving vehicle. Apollo 16. Launch date: April 16, 1972. Moon landing date: April 21, 1972. Astronauts: John Young and Charles Duke. Activities: John Young and Charles Duke explored the lunar surface and conducted experiments. Apollo 17. Launch date: December 7, 1972. Moon landing date: December 11, 1972. Astronauts: Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt. Activities: Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt were the last humans to walk on the Moon, conducting experiments and exploring. Among these, Apollo 11 holds special significance as the first spacecraft to land on the Moon on July 20, 1969. Neil Armstrong's famous words on the lunar surface, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind," are etched in human history as a pivotal moment in space exploration. After Apollo 11, the subsequent Apollo spacecraft conducted scientific research on the lunar surface, including activities such as collecting lunar rocks. Apollo 15 became the first mission to utilize a lunar rover for surface mobility, while Apollo 16 and Apollo 17 landed in the lunar region of the South Pole, contributing to geological studies of the Moon. Lunar landings are regarded as one of the greatest achievements in human history. They expanded humanity's knowledge of space and opened new horizons in space exploration. Among these missions, Apollo 11 stands out as the first spacecraft to land on the Moon, with astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin conducting activities on the lunar surface for approximately 2 hours and 36 minutes. Apollo 17, the final manned lunar landing mission, saw Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt spend around 3 days on the Moon, collecting 772 kilograms of lunar samples. All these spacecraft were launched as part of the United States Apollo program and were specially designed for lunar landings. Each mission consisted of a lunar module for landing and surface activities and a command module for orbiting the Moon and returning to Earth. Lunar landings are considered one of the greatest achievements in human history, marking the beginning of a new era in space exploration. Through these missions, humanity expanded its knowledge of the Moon and opened up new possibilities for space exploration. Apollo 17 landed on the Moon and was active for 3 days. Where did you eat after landing on the Moon? Apollo 17 landed on the Taurus-Littrow Valley of the Moon at 2 hours 23 minutes and 35 seconds Coordinated Universal Time on December 11, 1972. The crew spent 3 days on the lunar surface, and their meals consisted of freeze-dried food prepared through a process of dehydration at very low temperatures. This method involves freeze-drying freshly cooked food and rehydrating it with hot water before consumption. This approach helped keep the spacecraft lightweight, saved space, and facilitated preservation. The meals created using this method were convenient and became essential for hikers and campers due to their ease of preparation and preservation. During their activities on the lunar surface, the Apollo 17 astronauts used the lunar rover for mobility and had their meals from the provisions carried on the rover. The rover was equipped not only with meals and utensils for the astronauts but also with various scientific instruments and safety equipment. At the time of Apollo 17's lunar landing, there were technical limitations, and scenes or footage of astronauts eating were not captured. However, numerous photos and videos documenting the Apollo 17 mission, including the lunar landing and stay, exist. These materials provide valuable insights into the history of space exploration and technological advancements during that era.